Rook F8 has been played. Hikaru says, I want nothing to do with the E-file. I want something to...
Now, Hikaru for G5. This is excellent practical play. If Alireza Firouzja does not lose this game, it shows that he has nerves of steel. Queen B5, by the way, was the best move.
And a fantastic one at that. Swinging the queen with sort of with tempo. He hits D5, but he's trying to get it back to D3. Obviously, people should notice F takes G5 actually got mated because of knight takes E3.
And Queen F2. Forced mate, by the way.
Wherever you go.
There was maybe some ideas to survive. But, yeah. Okay,
C6 is tempting, right?
Yes, it is. Can you imagine having 20 seconds in this position? Because you sit there with your nervous system overloading, like, oh my god, what is he going to do? Is he going to go C6? Is he going to play knight E3? Is he going to play G4?
And then he always plays the moves that you don't consider.
Yes, exactly. Like that one.
Like that one.
Now, Bishop D2 is the best move, which no human being on Earth plays here.
Okay, so what is Black actually threatening? Black wants to just take H2 and deliver almost mate on H1. 10 seconds for Alireza. His position's crumbling.
You gotta run King D2 or so, King E1, yeah.
Go for it. Get out of the king side.
Yes, and if Queen H2, there's Queen C6 ideas.
And Rook A1.
And Rook A1
loses a Rook to Queen H1.
Oh my god, there's Queen H1. Okay, so King D2 and then Rook A1.
Hikaru now down to 50 seconds. He's thinking about taking H2. But Levy, worst comes to worst, the king can park itself on D2.
Yeah.
At C6 where, I mean, it's going to be weak for the rest of the game.
For sure. And at some point, Hikaru himself might play a Rook on D6. Whoa, this blockade is really... Oh, he's sacrificing everything to open up the king.
And Rook A1, it's still there. 3 seconds for Alireza.
Can Alireza do it? Can play it?
1 second, he's got to do it.
He plays it. Now he has 2 seconds. He has 2 seconds to survive the attack on his king, and he's going to win the game.
Look at this. Hikaru can take the Rook on E5, but it doesn't matter because he's going to get mated on A8. Can he find the checks to stay alive here?
Oh, and I said Alireza would be incredible if he didn't lose this game. He's going to win this game. I don't want to say anything just yet. Okay.
Queen C4, I mean, even if Hikaru trades queens, it's not an elementary conversion. Black has a pawn for the exchange. It's winning. But I've seen Hikaru pull off crazier draws than this, like earlier in the match.
Yes, but Queen C4 is doubling your C-pawns. That doesn't double your C-pawns, but there is Rook A5.
And it loses the D-pawn, and now it's a full exchange. And Alireza barely got the move off.
Yes, and Alireza has 3 seconds. As long as he doesn't panic, he should win this game.
And he's threatening to trade a pair of rooks, which will seal the deal immediately.
Okay. And the board has glitched a few more.
Hikaru has played King C6, Rook F6, H6 at the same time.
Yes, and Alireza has moved a few pieces around.
Such as his rooks, and he's made no progress.
Now, Alireza's plan here is to, oh my goodness, oh my.
This is like the new kind of bullet. That's what the cool people play. Alireza's still trying to convert. How is he the one with 3 seconds?
This game is going to go another 70 moves, probably, if even.
How does White win this? I think White wins this by surrounding this H-pawn.
But that's a huge benefit now, right? Because now the pawn is on a light square. Rook D5 is...
No pasaran. Hikaru getting his king to the support of the H-pawns, closing down the rooks. He's holding on for now.
Now walk the king to defend the B-pawn. That's probably what you do. Move the king. You got to move the king.
But where do you go? He goes to F3. Don't get mated. I mean, Rook A2. White's king is out of squares suddenly.
It has okay, never mind. He has 5 seconds. Okay, that was deceptive.
1 second. Okay, I'm sure he moved. I think he probably made 20 moves.
There we go.
There we go. King F2 with 0.5 seconds.
It's a crazy scramble. Both guys with less than 5 seconds on the clock. And here comes the king. Here comes the king. It's going to D7.
It goes. Rook F6 is their checkmate.
And Alireza Firouzja wins the 6th game and takes a 1-point lead.
Unbelievable final. He got his king where he needed to be, Levy, and then a deflection to win the 2nd rook.
That was wild. That was absolutely wild. But we said, okay, it was going to be a relatively straightforward conversion. And so we have one. By the way, a totally different game now. An Italian, Hikaru playing white. The previous one was an anti-Berlin. Hikaru was trying to see what Firouzja's got going on here with his openings.
I mean, I think Hikaru's adhering to this new strategy. He wants to slow the games down, slow the openings down. And he started with 1 D4. Alireza played the King's Indian. He's like, no thanks. I'm going to go back into his main online move, which is for many years, you know, he played Knight F3, dabbled, but it's 1 E4. That's who Hikaru is at his heart. He's a 1 E4 player.
And is it surprising Alireza's not playing any Sicilians?
Alireza, he did grow up playing the Sicilian exclusively, but he's expanded. And I think e5 he chose as a response to Hikaru specifically.
I see.
Galeen, thank you very much.
Bishop c2. We're in for a long maneuvering game where Hikaru has not spent more than 5 seconds on a move.
A4, A5, and we're going to get some copycat action on the queen side.
Knight f1, knight g3. At some point, black will play d5.
And you never know when, and I always mistime it.
What is that?
Siege that war. You almost never see the pawn move past c3 in these lines because it does encourage e takes d4, but I wouldn't do that unless I could follow up with d5.
That's always the question of when can you take on d4 and then follow up with another central strike. Otherwise, you kind of get like a Philidor-esque position, and white is just better. Not this way though, because knight d7 and the knights go to e5, c5.
There was a Philidor Street in Paris, and you do get this structure in the King's Indian sometimes. Obviously, this bishop is fianchettoed, but I think Alireza is pretty comfortable here. Hikaru has a space advantage, but you're constantly on guard for d5. You're on guard for black's knights kind of circling around white's king. But practically, I think black is totally fine here.
I think black's position is way more pleasant. I think the maneuvers are a little more natural, and then the pawn breaks as well. Like whether it's b5, whether it's d5. White almost has this Maroczy structure that you get in some Sicilian dragons where everything stands well, but you have no idea what you're ever supposed to push or not push. And I do feel like the position is a little easier to play for Alireza.
And he's got all these weird side moves. Bishop c7, a5. You could also trade the dark squared bishops and leave white with bishop on c2 that I think would rather be out of the spotlight and maybe off the board entirely.
That bishop is just looking for its next career move. I have, and by the way,
Her chess commentary is where it's at nowadays.
Are we getting fired or what's going on? Honestly, probably
There's
after.
always space for a light squared bishop.
Never too late to say something crazy. We are live, so you know. No, I don't want to give you any ideas.
They say there's no chess without Rosman.
They do not say that. Nobody has ever said that. Okay.
Over in Charlotte, where I'm at, that's all the rage.
Rook e3. Self-pinning yourself with queen f6.
And this is what we talked about. Black is just assembling his pieces one by one on the king side. Hikaru trying to simplify.
You damaged black's structure here, but the rook on a8 cannot be underestimated. That rook is a monster.
Developing without making a move.
That's always the best way to do it. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying, knight f4. Knight f4 is going to force Hikaru into a kingside confrontation.
Now, white is worse. I mean, you called it when it was equal. Black's plan was very clear. It was not clear where white's play was coming from.
And let me just quickly comment on the fact that the easiest way to see which of your opponent's bishops are bad is by counting the amount of pawns on that color. And Hikaru has 6 out of 7 pawns on the light squares, which means that the light squared bishop, large pawn.
And you would love nothing more than at least getting that very large pawn to f1. Can't even do that because d3 is protected.
And g5. If Alireza is in good form, he plays g5 without thinking. If Alireza is in hesitant form, he does not play g5.
Yeah, I mean, g5, the great thing about that move is f5 is well protected by your light squared bishop. And the point of g5 is white can't take on f4. Black's pawn recaptures, forcing the rook away, and the g file is going to be the end of white.
Now, if it's a bullet game, by the way, you play g5 immediately. You don't even, of course you play g5, because if he plays knight g6, see, g5 was the move there. You don't really want to lead the attack there with the pawn, but you do want to win some space. Yeah, rook a5. Yes.
We saw this maneuver before.
Yes.
It was aborted when Alireza's rook was on a3. This time, maybe he'll get a chance to do the whole thing. But your point is well taken, Levy. I think knight takes f4, and then dropping the other knight back to e2. More pieces get traded, the less kind of juicy black's attack.
For sure. By the way, rook a5 just on the board. So he didn't play g5, but maybe that's because he wanted to put the rook there. So I apologize. Maybe he's absolutely in great form, and he saw rook a5, rook g5 on the way.
But I think knight takes f4, knight e2 might, douse the flames of black's attack.
You can't, you can take some out, get some attack going there. It looks so promising. I mean, the black queen could even park on b2 and just say, where are you moving? Where are you ever going to move anything?
I mean, the queen side is fertile ground for black to now attack this backward pawn. Maybe that's where the bishop comes in. Finally, that bishop has a role.
In eating its own pawn? There's a game mode on chess.com you can self-capture, right?
I mean, I do that in regular chess as well.
Oh, what does that even mean?
Under all my pieces.
Oh, yeah, no, but you can capture your own pieces, which is a very fascinating rule, actually. But H5.
Sometimes you wish you could do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what what I'm saying, you know. But H5 apparently the wrong approach. I mean, there is no. The computer is saying it's equal because they're going to repeat moves after Rook F3, Queen G5, Rook G3, Queen F6, which they are not going to do.
I mean, to follow up Rook G3 with Rook F3 voluntarily, that's going to take nerves of steel. And the problem with Rook G3, Levy, is that now if you try, and I'm going to show this for newer players, why can't you do this simplifying mechanism? Got to look at the whole board. Whole board awareness. Knight takes C2, the queen is overloaded. White drops the rook in the corner. So even when the queen side's not important, the queen side's important.
Yeah, if that happens, I'll probably just leave you for the show.
He took once, but he dropped his king off to H1.
And King H1.
Whoa!
Bishop to G4, which is an attack on the queen. And if the queen moves, I don't know.
My bigger question is, HG is that?
If the queen moves, then there's C5. And the rook on A1 doesn't have any protection. So the point of Bishop G4 is that you force white to take the bishop and open up their own king.
Let me show this. Bishop G4, H takes G4, you just take back. Let's say that white plays primitively, rook takes G4. Swing it.
And the rook on A5 is just the...
People might be tempted by queen takes D4. That's not the move. You're going for mate.
Yeah, that's it.
You're going for the queen. As a second best option, you just take the queen on D1. And he's played it.
Wow! He played Bishop G4!
He misses G5. He allows the knight trade, and he finds an absolutely impossible move.
Oh my god. That is not... He's out of this world. Bishop G4 is a crazy, crazy move. And by the way, can we just show that Queen D2 isn't just C5? It's Knight E2. And the bishop defends the knight, and the knight attacks the knight and the rook, and the knight usually doesn't attack the knight, because if knight takes, there's queen takes rook.
Let me get this straight. The bishop that's hanging defends the knight that's hanging,
yeah.
But you can't take either piece.
Because the rook is hanging.
Because the rook is hanging and white's knight is also hanging. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Hikaru took on G4.
Yeah, I think he's just
And if he moves his king preemptively, then queen takes D4,
and then
is a lost endgame.
And the bishop suffers forever.
I like how it hasn't moved. It's like the only piece that's like, I'm chilling on C2, don't touch me.
It's the college student in the group project that's like, what? Oh, we had something to do? Oh, that's crazy, wow.
Got a problem set?
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't know.
Party's to attend.
Yeah, we winning this game or what, boys? Like, what's going on? Yeah, the bishop on C2 is like a paid actor. I mean, there's nothing at all impressive going on with the bishop, and you almost wish you can just play E5. Just sack the pawn so at least it, can see the board.
This is what got Alireza so many fans to begin. Just look at rook on A5. Just think about how unlikely it is, the way that he's attacking. He got his queen's rook to the king side, sacrificed what seemed to be one of his main anchors, the light skirt bishop, and now he's going to go rook H5 check. And where's the crusher? Do you just take on D4? You can even take here.
You have like 6 different winning ideas here. He does take on D4. Okay, he doesn't... Now can you sit
Oh
and
my
relax?
gosh. Levy, rook takes D6 is a deflection. If the queen moves back to F6, white has rook takes D6. Hikaru's like, pause.
Then you have to play rook H5. Alireza definitely rushed there. And he had 3 times the amount of time as Hikaru.
Rook takes D6, can't take the rook because of mate, can give a check on H5.
Yeah. We're in the stage of the game, everyone's going to have a hanging piece and everybody can sacrifice something. This is losing because...
No, we're about to get another one of those chaotic time scrambles. Though, Alireza, how easy is it to fritter away your time advantage in one move if you're black? I mean, rook H5 is a move, queen H6 is a move. You're allowing rook takes D6 in both cases?
Yeah, he plays rook H5. And I guess the idea is always knight E2 check, like rook D6, knight E2, you deflect the queen from the mate.
No, knight E2 just ends the game.
He hung a fork.
And knight takes G3 protects that rook on H5. That's a panicked reaction from Hikaru, but with 9 seconds, can't take care of everything.
Yeah. Knight E2 is on the board, and...
Queen C3, your move, Levy, queen E2.
That bishop is just not good.
A college student is going to get expelled one way or the other.
Yeah, that's not... We don't have a good thing going on there. And I guess Alireza's thinking.
Queen C3.
Okay.
And white's queen side suddenly is totally abandoned. These pawns are going to start falling one by one.
I don't think Hikaru is losing on time. Yeah, he has played that move.
Bunch of pawns have been captured.
We have our usual pieces flying off the board.
Queen C5, trade the queens. He had a much harder conversion with an extra exchange in the last game, but he's going for mate.
Oh, he's going for mate. Now the bishop is alive, but it's a little too late.
I would have traded queens, but Alireza trusts in his checkmating ability. And for my heart's sake, just take the queen.
Yeah, maybe it's just better.
Okay, this is good enough.
Rook d8 is very fancy,
Rook was untouchable.
as Alireza is, and now you play G5. Yeah, duh. That's just like I thought.
Carve out those dark squares. Get your king involved.
Yes, Rook b6. Whoa. Closes down the b file by giving up the pawn. Now both guys have 5 seconds.
And bishop e4, Hikaru trying to go after the b pawn. He's like 6 moves too late.
But
Problem.
yes, Rook b3. He allows the trade, and that's it. And I think Hikaru resigns. Alireza has a 2-game lead.
We had to watch the instant replay of that clock taking down to 0. It's over. And what's the move counter at? Are we done?
No.
8:20 left.
No, that means we are going to get one final game of
Okay.
5+1.
The player's taking a second there. I don't mind that, Levy. I got to catch my breath.
Yeah,
What a match.
Yeah, no, this has been epic so far. It started out with an advantage for Alireza Firouzja, and then it was back and forth. Hikaru had a lead. Both guys were playing at a very high level, but it seems that Alireza has pulled ahead, and he has an opportunity to take a 3-game lead going into the 3+1.
I was so focused on this game, I forgot he won the last game
Yeah,
with that lovely tactic at the end, winning Hikaru's second rook. And this is what he needs. He needs that cushion going into the bullet. I mean, Hikaru claims that they're evenly matched in bullet. I think Alireza would do very well to try to have a 2-3 point cushion going into the final segment. Obviously, we still have an hour of 3+1 to play.
I'm gonna address the elephant in the room.
Please.
Where's the game? Do we not have a game? Fans, how we doing? We don't know. We know as much as you. So
Game, I mean,
yeah, I don't know. A game? I want to see a game. It seems like they're thinking about something. Are they making moves?
so demanding, Levy. I mean, we have the players on the camera. The game is underway. We
Okay,
can get it
you
for
want
you as soon as we
you
can.
want to play blindfold? What do you think it was? What, Hikaru just had white? Yes, or he was black?
I'm still trying to figure out his color. I'm not at blindfold yet. Yeah, he will be black. Alireza has white.
Let's predict. It was E4, probably from Firouzja. Oh, we see the sky view. Oh, that is sick. Oh, it's the same position. It's the same line. And look, the doubled F pawns, and the advance and the knights.
Look at what he's doing. The knight on c6 is hanging. Alireza has just played AB. Not only did he not pre-move A takes B5, knight H4 threatening queen H3 might happen.
This is fascinating. We get to see how Hikaru plays chess. So he's highlighting the move, and he's like considering it, and then he's moving back. We also have like a 4 digital display here at the broadcast studio, which the audience can't see. So we see Hikaru's face on a different camera. So he considered knight H4, and he like looked and was like, I'm gonna go back actually. I'm gonna consider my options. We see they have a timer there, by the way, with the countdown. So they know exactly how much time is left and whether they can resign and start a game. So the setup is very sophisticated, it's very nice, and very blue, and very green. And the colors are changing, and
On the keyboard, they're changing everywhere. And Levy, this is going to be the last game of the 5+1 segment. This will take us to the break, and after that we'll have an hour of 3+1. Hikaru's still thinking. He's played knight H4.
Yes, he has ultimately decided on knight H4. We do just want to reassure folks that we will show a 2-dimensional board, but it's day one of a massive broadcast of like 100+ people who are trying to, work together to get stuff done. And we're doing our best. If we have any bumps and bruises on day one, we also made it as difficult as possible. We could have split the semis into 2 days, but then rent would have been too expensive. So I guess now we have 2 semifinals in one day, and we're going to be here till 1 in the morning. So that's.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Paris was built in a day. And
Was it? Was it?
I don't think so.
No, it wasn't.
I just took that out of a place where the sun don't shine. But just a huge shout out to everybody taking time out of your weekend to watch a historic event unfolding. I think we have positive things unfolding on the board, because there is a board.
Hey! Shout out for the broadcast team getting it together. Yes.
You know who doesn't have it together? I think Black's position.
Yeah, Hikaru clearly wanting to win really badly after those 2 games, and he's got Alireza exactly where he wants him. Down 3 games, going into the next segment.
Yeah, and he's just played knight H4. Just want to show the last 2 moves, Levy. Of course, Alireza cannot take the knight because of queen H3. threatening mate, threatening another mate, you're going to lose your queen. Instead, e6, trying to intercept the queen's path to h3. You're like, why? Thank you for the pawn. Are you going to play bishop f5 now? No, the idea was to play knight f4, covering h3 with tempo, and then the knight on c6 is going to drop.
And Hikaru thinking for such a long time and missing e6 is never a good sign, right? It's just never a good sign. And you almost suffer this effect in 5+1. It's a lot of time to think, but you're somehow your own worst enemy. And yeah, Hikaru's just completely lost. I wonder if he will resign and play another game or try to just take the timer to 0.
I mean, he's down a piece. Queen takes h2, king takes f3. White's got enough minor pieces to cover any avenues of attack. I think Hikaru should play fe.
Do you think Hikaru should resign and play another game with White?
Maybe
Probably, right?
Hypothetically, but I just don't see him resigning this. I mean, f takes e6 and queen e7, queen h4. I mean, I'd still be terrified with White here against Hikaru.
Yeah, but you almost have to lose a second piece, you know? And at that point, you're not really convinced anymore. But okay, you're saying fe6 first.
Okay, he tries the one last, and he's going to play knight f4, rook takes f4, just sack everything.
But he's... Okay, we're getting to crunch time. He's got 3 minutes on the timer.
Rook f8 and g5.
Yeah, but queen d2 and king e2, right?
I'm down a rook, but can we just not talk about that?
King d2, king e2, rook a3, and then you just...
Rook a3 again?
Yeah, the hero.
You could also just move the king away. Now, folks, the bishop is pinned, so you cannot take the queen.
Oh, I see.
But Hikaru's going to keep playing. As long as the white king is vulnerable, I think he's going to keep making moves.
But the longer he makes moves, the lower the timer gets. So at some point, he's going to have to make a decision, right? With 10 seconds remaining or so. Does he want another game just as a meta strategy?
I don't think so. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Hikaru, he wants to get to the bullet as quickly as possible. If he's down by 2, down by 3,
But
he wants the time control shortened.
But a game with White is a game with White, ultimately, right? I mean, there's something to be said, and obviously he's smart and experienced enough in these finals to make the correct decision, make the correct call, so...
And knowing Hikaru, he'll wait until there's like 3 seconds on the match clock. He'll get Alireza's hopes up. Okay, I get the break. Nope, resigns, start the next game.
Exactly. Alireza... You know what's funny? If Alireza stalls, and Hikaru resigns on Alireza's move,
that's happened. That happened to the Bullet Championship, right? I mean, I've tried to do that, where you sense your opponent's not resigning, let me get time off the clock. Hikaru's not stranger to those, to that kind of gamesmanship.
Yeah, he just lets him think that it's over.
So how does White just ward off this last stage of the attack? You go king e2, black plays rook f4.
I feel like
Where is it?
I feel like you can make a lot of moves here. But yeah, let's just say king e2, and then like rook takes f4. And I don't know if you have to defend... Yeah, maybe queen e3. d4 is hanging, but you can launch a counterattack right away.
Yeah, you are up a rook, and black does have these 2 weaknesses. Are rook h...
Yeah, exactly. Or rook a check. Yeah, rook b6, exactly. I mean, being down a rook in a position without many pieces on the board is not good. It's a very easy simplification process.
But you're right. I mean, Alireza clearly taking longer than he would normally.
Yes.
Trying to get that timer down to 0.
Alireza is playing deliberately slowly because he has 1:15 on the clock, 1:17, and the game clock is 40 seconds. So I think he's stalling the clock down. But I think Hikaru is seconds on the clock.
No, that's exactly what's going to happen. King g7. Still, I mean, as I said, as long as White's king is weak, Hikaru's holding out some hope. Queen d8, queen takes...
Just don't hang mate in 1.
Literally the queen... There we go. With 25 seconds, Hikaru resigns. Wow. Good call, Levy.
And now, yeah. Alireza's got a 3-game lead.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, bring it on. I mean, you got another game. Alireza's won with black. This game counts, folks, because there's time on the match clock when the game began. But it will be the last game of the segment. I think it's safe to say that now.
Absolutely. We have another Spanish. This is an Archangel with bishop c5, Arcangels. And the bishop is going to e3 to offer an exchange. We've kind of seen this structure already, but I think we saw it in a slightly... I have no idea. All these positions fused together.
I keep playing the Spanish. Are you telling me if we were in Barcelona right now, they'd be playing e4, e6?
I don't think so. I think the French in 5+1 is probably quite hopeless. But the French defense is actually a very nice opening to play for a win.
Hey, MVL has something to say about it. He's like, the French in 5+1 are really good. You're referring to the opening, of course.
Yes, exactly. So of course, Maxime, one of the victims of one of the semifinalists here, who will be in the next match.
Next match? There's another match?
Man, when Hikaru versus Ali Reza is the appetizer, the hors d'oeuvre, if you will, and then you have Magnus versus Hans as the main. I mean, this is quite a banger of a chess day. And look, it's on the screen. Look at that production listening to us. Hey guys, great work. Great work.
Wow.
For a second, I was like 2 p.m. What are you talking about? It's like it's 5, but I forgot I'm not back at home.
3 time zones in my phone. It's at home. This is in Paris.
Yeah.
On the match clock, it's zeros. It's game time, and it's another one of those typical vanilla Italian positions, but D5 spices things up a little bit.
Yes, it does. Not really. I also just wanted to point out, we had the format up on the screen for a second. In this finale of matches, we have gone back to the original Speed Chess Championship format, which I didn't realize had changed actually, of 90 minutes of 5+1, 60 minutes of 3+1, and then 30 minutes of 1+1. And during the preliminary rounds, it was 75 and so on. It was a shortened format. So actually, this game wouldn't have happened in the previous...
All right, it was 75, 45, and 25, I want to say.
Yeah.
Minus 15 minutes, minus 10 minutes,
Yeah.
minus I did major in math minutes. But I do know how to read zeros. And Hikaru has 3 zeros in a row. So he needs to try to make something happen in this position. But pieces are getting traded. Rook takes b6.
Doesn't he have...
CB, okay.
Does he have 4? No. He was down 2.5, 1.5. Then he tied it, and since then he's lost 3. I thought it was the opposite. For losing 4 games in a row, actually, would be quite crazy.
Yeah. Now, this is a solid position for white. If I had to choose a side, it would probably be white. He's got the better pawn structure. He's got some pressure on black center. But if he takes on d5 prematurely, you could end up with a big weakness on d3.
Oh, for sure. Having said that, Alireza took on b6 with the pawn,
Weakness on d.
which we can't really look away from, which is a very odd way to compromise your own pawn structure, but I guess he just didn't want the weak c-file.
Yeah, and there's something disconcerting about having to move a heavy piece away from the 8th rank. You might create more tactical opportunities for your opponent, so he wants to keep everything on home base. Bar with queen e2, kind of standard improving move.
He needs a game like this, Hikaru. He just lost 3 straight. Like I said, he's got him right where he wants him. But at the same time, you are ultimately down in the match, and some of these last games have been really crazy. He's missed some 1 movers, and by the way, there is the patented match lash out by Alireza in an otherwise stable position. This is exactly how Hikaru took a 2.5, 1.5 lead. It was an e4, e5. It looked very similar, but Alireza went for a critical trade at the wrong moment.
Yeah, and I mean, it looks good for black. He's imposing his will in the center. Here's the problem. The problem is a white knight landing on f5
Non lo
at some
so,
point.
non faccio i conti,
And the
io
problem
non
is the
guardo,
black
io
has
cambio i
been
prezzi, a me non
control.
interessa il
Alireza trying to
prezzo
solve
della
that
Disney, io la
problem,
vendo e
which
basta,
is why I
capisci?
thought Hikaru maybe should have
Io
taken on d4 immediately.
centesimi
Planted the
ogni
knight
giorno
while he had
cambia
a
un
chance.
centesimo,
Should
non
have.
sto a
Now,
pensare.
Alireza is stabilizing the situation.
Non lo so, quella che hai tu sulla tessera dipende dalla fascia.
Yeah.
Quello tu devi sapere che sconto hai sulla tua tessera, io non posso sapere, capisci?
Trade everything,
Knight f5,
and a knight,
now black can never play g6.
and now you're going to push d4, and white's pieces just look great.
Maybe Hikaru didn't see this idea, because if not this d4, then black consolidates, but
Okay, so we go back to the live board. Rook ac1 was played, occupying the c file, g6. Hikaru's going to go for plan B. I think he's going to move the knight back to e2 and try to force this darn pawn off of d4.
But this is typical Italian stuff, and the only reason I think the computer thinks that white is better is the compromised b-pawns. That's basically it. It's saying the imbalance of the endgame or some pawn structure might be slightly favorable to white. It thinks that white is the one calling the shots down the c-file, but black is close to stabilizing.
And now Hikaru's kind of pulling an Alireza, taking a long time in the middle game, trying to get these decisions right. Knowing the gravity of this game, Levy, how much a win would do for his momentum, it's slice the lead down to 2.
Absolutely.
He loses, he's down by 4.
Yeah, so he also has to toe that line between, like, do I take an all-out risk here and potentially go down 4 games? He propped up his opponent. He said Alireza is probably the best bullet player in the world, not named Hikaru or Magnus. And he said that against him, he probably should not go to the bullet down a big amount of games.
Yeah, I mean, against Nepo, he had some trouble in the 5-minute portion, but there was a feeling that he can get into the bullet and he can bail out, which is exactly what happened. Here he doesn't really have that luxury. Right now he's got to move his rook. Briefly, I flirted with an exchange sack, and knight takes e5. Don't think there's enough there. I think you should just drop back to c1.
You know, speaking of, rook c6 doesn't look ridiculous.
Just didn't make it there.
But b5, he's going to crawl forward again.
Knight d7, well, then he's going to sack.
That I would be shocked, but no, knight d7, then you go back to c1. Then you made black make 3 moves, and your rooks, this is so fun.
Creeping and crawling and crawling and
Knight d7, rook d5.
digging and zagging, and yeah, rook d5 I really like. And then knight d7.
Yes. What a funny little spot there. Yeah, but queen b6, black has made improvements, and he's, by the way, pushing his queenside pawns.
Okay, rook e c1.
There is a world in which the pawns simplify, and black has a pass pawn on the b file, or the a file.
Yeah, these doubled pawns are not that bad. They're controlling a lot of squares, and knight takes c4 was threatened. Position is getting more charged up, Levy. You can sense the tactics.
Yeah,
They're starting.
we're starting. What is Hikaru upset about? I'm a little confused. He just did this expression. Maybe they're ahead. Maybe a move was already made. Maybe I don't know. What was he unhappy about? He thought he had a threat here or something.
Yeah, I mean, rook takes c6. Looks like a threat for a second, then you realize black can take back with the rook and protect the queen. But Alireza has a move. Like, he doesn't have to do anything drastic. He can play a5. He does do something fairly drastic. But okay, yeah.
I was thinking rook d5, but rook d5 is bad because your rook gets trapped.
Oh, that's lovely. Rook d5, queen trade, and the other knight drops back to e7, trapping the rook.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. Rook d5 looks very nice, but it's kind of funny because Alireza just did another queen trade, forced Hikaru into a queen trade, and it's bad.
And it's very similar. 2 knights
Yeah.
are the only minor pieces on the board.
Yes.
Look at this. Knight e2, knight e1, knight e7, knight d7.
Oh yeah, this is like take a step backwards to go 2 steps forwards. He's gonna take a lot more than 2 steps forwards with his d pawn.
I'm really luring this.
Stop. Silence. Okay, you can talk. You can talk.
No, this is this knight arrangement, and these knights are great because this one's defending d3. The knight on e2 is preparing d4 potentially, and the rooks can assemble themselves on the 7th rank.
Why is this so bad? Like, what was? I don't understand. The computer's like, it's equal. Oh, you moved your rook. Stupid. What an idiot.
How dare you defend against the
What
threat?
kind of a moron would move the rook to d6? But like, yeah, it's just. What is the plan? I mean, they're obviously
Not gonna repeat.
never really moves here.
Rook c7. He can also give a check on a8, and then,
Now, king f2 is apparently the wrong move.
well, I think he wants to get the king to f3 and ultimately prepare d3, d4. Never too late to play the queen's gambit.
But Hikaru is, of course, not the one up on time. The situation in reverse would be quite something. But also, Alireza doesn't feel that clock pressure the same way that some of Hikaru's other opponents do.
Absolutely, and we saw that in the Bullet Championship. How many games Alireza? I mean, 1+0 very different, but Alireza is one of those guys who time scrambles as well as Hikaru. You can't rely on that. Alireza needs to get this rook off of the 7th rank levies. Can he go rook d7?
I don't.
Or actually take and put the other rook on c7?
Yeah, I don't think he wants to trade the rooks. You know, sometimes in these rook endgames, the offensive side wants to trade.
Man, this knight's using every inch.
Oh, yeah, for sure. God, if he was recapping this game, I could see the D's knights popping off here. Knight g1.
That knight all the way back in Marseille, but it'll
Yeah.
be back in town pretty soon.
Oh, yeah, it's going to take a helicopter. Knight g1, knight to f3. You ever been to Marseille?
No.
No? Okay. I hear it's nice.
I've only been...
Is Marseille nice?
You know
French
Marseille.
fans?
You know Marseille.
Okay, we got a couple of thumbs up. I thought we'd get some cheers, but I think Paris.
A rousing reception. Knight f3, g4. Alireza trying to create counterplay. Now both sides under a minute.
I don't like g4. I don't get it. Why can you not take and put the king on e2? Because f5 something he's trying to create some chaos. I mean,
Feels
hg king
vague.
e2 feels very natural, but I guess f5 is really powerful.
So maybe Hikaru wants to keep this knight on f6 and just drop his knight back
Yeah,
and head over to the queen side. 20 seconds on the clock.
I would never in a million years play knight d2. It's just such a smart move.
Knight to h4. A bunch of moves, a bunch of checks.
Oh, Hikaru is not liking this.
But the king gets out into the center.
We're in another scramble, and it looks like Alireza is getting the best of it right now.
e3, just trying to paralyze these pawns. Toss the ball back to black's court.
A posto signora,
He's
grazie
doing a lot
mille.
of head shaking. Alireza's really been more
Arrivederci.
locked in during the scrambles.
This is a huge game. This is a huge end game, and Alireza is now, it's equal, but the momentum is with him. As he circles around to g3, he's creating threats.
Okay, we get a rook trade, and now Hikaru's going to go for d4, and after d4,
Knight G3 though, and rook to C3. That was the problem with the move B3. It created this big hole on C3.
You know, we've also seen that in critical moments, especially in scrambles, like in Toronto. There's the famous clip of Hikaru getting very animated during the scramble. Alireza somehow has kept his nerves better. Hikaru winning this game would be massive for his confidence.
Uh-oh.
Much better.
He's kept his nerves, but he hasn't kept his pawns.
Yeah, A6 looks to be falling, and the knight is trapped. Knight E3, king E2.
Oh, you can't take G2. That pawn's defended.
By the
Knight F5, and it's over.
It's over, knight F5.
And White's knights are encircling Black's king like vultures. Everything's dropping. Hikaru's just winning this.
Knight D5, complete lockdown. Knight D5, you have mates
Or
everywhere.
this, just chase that knight off
Yes.
to oblivion, and
Oh,
Hikaru.
wow. And that is why these two are in the semifinals. Firouzja built up a 3-game lead, and Hikaru stole the last game back.
He's still shaking his head, Levy. Did you want 3 points from that win?
Yeah, he's not happy. He thought it was going to be smoother than it was, but Danya, I mean, listen, what a clutch win, and it's only a 2-game lead going into the 3+1 segment.
And there's obviously these twin narratives, right? Firouzja leads 5.5, 3.5. That is a fantastic result for the home favorite, the Frenchman. He won 3 in a row. He had all the momentum, but he lost the last game. Still, Levy, Alireza has to be happy with the way that these first 90 minutes of the semifinals of the SEC unfolded.
Absolutely. What more can you say? I mean, you got 90 minutes to play some chess, and you lead. You don't just lead by 1 or 2 games. You led by 3. Ultimately, he lost the final, and he's only up by 2, but his goal was to get a lead.
And for Hikaru, he seemed less comfortable than we're used to him being in his territory, right? The openings that he prepared for the candidates, like that Bishop C5 Rui Lopez, there were some hitches in his execution, and Alireza seemed more comfortable in the head-to-head tactics, as we will see in our game review, which features one of Alireza's 3 consecutive victories, culminating in the penultimate game of the segment. This was a Rui Lopez, a variation that they played several times throughout this first segment. As Hikaru displaying candidates prep, this is what he played against Nepo. He had a good result there. Opening, pretty normal, D5. They get a structure that they got almost every time this line appeared on the board. Now, previously, Hikaru had been taking on F3 and doubling White's pawns. Here he holds on. He doesn't do that yet, but he does that here. Bishop takes F3, Alireza castling into the lion's den. And here, after a very long thing, instead of recapturing on B5, which would have been totally normal, Hikaru goes for knight H4. It's a very bold, daring tactic. It's a beautiful concept because BC walks into queen H3. And because of the twin threats of queen G2 and knight F3, White loses at least a queen. But Alireza remained on top. And the idea that Hikaru missed, the crusher, was E6, interposing the queen's half to H3 in order to give the knight a tempo move on F4, protecting the H3 square, deflecting the attack, and winning the knight on C6. Hikaru tried to complicate the game, but to no avail. He sacrificed his second piece.
sei tu che lamenti.
Alireza's king sweeping up those knights.
Ebbene, quando
Sweeping
sarà
up those
2
knights.
euro.
This knight blocking the F file. Hikaru sacking more pieces, but he just ran out of pieces to sacrifice. And it was Alireza's turn as the queen went on its triumph.
Questo signore mi diceva, ragazzi, che quando lui era giovane non ha votato nessuno, quindi esco. Neanche uno non ha votato il sondaggio chi vince. Mamma mia, che schifolosi di persone. Che lamenta questo? Lamenta come un bastardo. Speed chess.
There. But Alireza did what he had to do. He played 90 minutes of chess, and he has a lead. So,
Listen, we know this is going to be a close match. We knew this is rarely going to go above a 3-point lead. That's exactly what
Blah,
happened.
blah,
Anytime
blah,
one player
blah,
builds
blah,
momentum,
blah.
the other will come back and deliver a victory at the right moment. Folks, the Speed Chess Championship, the first semifinal, the first segment is concluded, but all the intrigue remains in the last 2 segments. More of the Alireza interview in the break, and Robert and Danny and Canty will break everything down in the halftime break. Stay tuned.
Tan, taran, tan, tan, tan. Così la lascia. Leggiamo i commenti. Gucci Re, damn. Magnus a 11 è in Pacific. Let me your all. Why is Levi Bicet? Break how long? Speed Champion! Non vota nessuno. Non volete votare, no? Non votate, no? Non votate? Se non votate esco. Tu 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 tu.